episode of Gaston Spotlight. I'm your host, Drew Ellis, and today I'm here with Audra Ellis, who is a social worker for the blind and also happens to be my mother. How are you doing today, Mom?
I'm great.
What is the Services for the Blind?
So Services for the Blind is operated through the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. We're under a state agency, and we work with blind and low vision individuals throughout the state of North Carolina and provide resources to them, like adjustment to blindness services, independent living services, and we also have another program called the Medical Eye Care Program that provides like surgeries, eye care needs for people who don't have insurance or have monetary issues that need assistance paying for those services.
That's great. What have you done career-wise before helping the blind?
So my first job out of college was a social worker at Cleveland County DSS. I was a foster care social worker for 4.5 years. But the biggest chunk of my career was as a juvenile probation officer, which I served for 20 years in Lincoln County.
It's a long time.
Yes.
And what made you want to help others who were vision impaired?
So back in probably early 2020, one of my former coworkers with probation had already left and gone to Services for the Blind, and he had contacted me and told me there was an opening at the Gaston County location, and he just said, I really think that you would be good at this job. You have a heart for people, you always want to help people, and I think you need to try it. And I thought he was crazy, and I had no clue about working with blind or low vision people because all my career has been in the criminal justice system. So I took the leap and got the job, and the rest they say is history. So I jumped ship in the middle of a pandemic and changed complete career paths.
So pretty much you were roped into it.
In the beginning, yeah.
Is it sometimes difficult to work with someone who can't see?
It does have its challenges, but I think it's very rewarding to give them a light at the end of the tunnel, because so many times when someone is told that they're going to either lose their vision completely or their vision is going to be, 75-80% of what it used to be, they can be very depressed, discouraged, want to give up on life. And I think, when we go out and encourage them to participate in activities with other blind and low vision people, reach out to people who've been in their shoes, provide them different low vision aids and things like that, it gives them a spark of encouragement so that they can learn to adapt to what they can do and focus on what they're still able to do, not what they can't do.
What kind of services do you provide for them?
Okay, so the biggest majority of what we do is with blind and low vision individuals, but as I mentioned earlier, there is a program called the Medical Eye Care Program. Its goal primarily is to try to keep folks with their sight for as long as possible. It's to prevent sight loss, so dealing with folks who otherwise may not go to the doctor because they don't have insurance or not go have their eyes checked on a regular basis, and there may be some underlying vision issue that needs to be addressed so that they don't lose their sight. So the Medical Eye Care Program is geared for folks who don't have private insurance, don't have Medicaid, Medicare. It is income-based. It's available to every citizen of North Carolina. There are some income requirements that we have to go through and get copies of, like check stubs and things like that to verify income. But it is to help pay for cataract surgery or eye drops or things like that in order to prevent someone from losing their sight.
How does someone become eligible for these services?
Okay, so as I said, for the Medical Eye Care Program, it's an income eligibility thing. There's an application process. They just need to reach out to me, and we begin that process to see if they meet the criteria income-wise to receive the medical help for their eyes. As far as the independent living program, a person needs to be diagnosed with a progressive eye disease like glaucoma, retinitis pigmentosa, diabetic retinopathy. There's a slew of eye diseases. But they also, if they don't have a progressive eye disease, if their eye loss or their visual acuity is 20, 100 or less in the better eye, then we obtain a copy of their eye report from their eye doctor to be able to justify linking them with our services so that we can begin the process of getting them resources, getting them different low vision aids. They may not necessarily decide that they want to have an open case for independent living, but if someone calls and they have low vision issues, but they just need information or they know how, need some other type of assistance, then we do a lot of resource linking and things like that.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the examples of low vision aids that you give to someone who is vision impaired?
Okay, so when I first go out to meet with someone, I go out to their home or where they reside, whether it be a nursing home facility, assisted living facility, an apartment, house, doesn't matter. I go out to them and we just basically sit down and talk and have a conversation about what they're struggling with. So for instance, if someone is struggling in cooking and meal preparation type things, then I may help them with a low vision set of measuring cups or spoons that have the really big measurements inside. Something as simple as using bump dots to place on their microwave buttons so that if they can't see the buttons on the microwave, they go by feel to get to the start button or the stop button, things like that. If someone is having difficulty telling what time it is, we reach out and look at different versions of talking clocks, talking watches, things like that. Something like a writing guide that basically turns any sheet of paper into a guided piece of paper where they can place their pen or pencil in it and know where they're writing a line. If someone is having difficulty navigating curbs, steps, parking lots, things like that, navigating inside their home, then we can refer them to our mobility specialist who actually physically comes out and trains them to use the blind cane so that they can safely navigate without tripping and falling. We have a nursing eye care specialist who comes out, works with them on whether they need lighting modifications in their home, if they need magnifiers, if they need TV glasses, sunglasses, if they have pain because of glare. What else? We have an assistive technology instructor. So for instance, if you have a blind or low vision person who is in school or working or needs to be able to access their laptop, tablet, things like that, our assistive technology instructor will teach them how to use those tools, their iPad, their laptop, as a blind person, and do all that training and things. So we link them to basically any resource. We also, Services for the Blind has a vocational rehabilitation section. So if someone wants to work, wants to maintain employment, we can refer them to Voc Rehab so that they can continue to earn a living as a blind or low vision person. So we want them to be the goal is independence and adjusting to the loss of sight in whatever manner we can help them get that adjustment process happening.
Now, I actually have a question about the talking clock. When you
Sure.
say talking clock, is it like actually talking?
It does. So this one is a very simple model that I like to use, especially for my more elderly clients who don't like a lot of technology, who just need a basic clock. So this one, battery operated, it has a high-low volume if they're hearing impaired. It sets and it manually, you mash it one time and it will tell you the time. You mash it a second time and it will tell you the date and the day of the week. My favorite one is probably this one because it's an atomic clock, so you don't have to manually change the time when you spring forward or fall back. It changes on its own. It's radio controlled. It also has high-low volume. It has the ability to announce the time every hour on the hour, or you can manually push the button on the top to find out the date and the day or the time. But everything is push button, and there is an audible voice that comes out and says the time is, and it speaks to them. So they're not having to, get their watch and put it right to their face, or, especially for folks that are totally blind, have no sight. These are really, really helpful.
Well, it's great that we have people here who want to help anybody who is low vision impaired and needs help getting around, doing anything that they can at home when they're not able to see well. All right, that's all the time we have for the show today. I've been your host, Drew Ellis, and we want to thank you, Audra, for coming on the show. Do you have anything that you can give people to contact you with?
If they want to reach out to me, they can contact me at the Department of Social Services building on Martin Luther King Jr. Way, or they can reach me at 704-862-7622.
And we want to thank everybody for watching today's episode of Gaston Spotlight, and we'll see you next time.